Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, colleagues, for the opportunity to address this bill. I was honored a few weeks ago to be in a chamber that truly worked in a bipartisan manner to pass a bill that was powerful to help our school districts across Michigan and our students across Michigan. Unfortunately, the legislation that's before us now no longer does that. The legislation that's before us now picks winners and losers. And unfortunately, the losers are those that can afford to lose the least. Have you ever worked a job where you're an hourly employee and you're struggling to make ends meet, struggling to pay the bills, struggling to keep the lights on in your house, struggling to pay your utility bills? That is a reality for thousands of Michigan school employees who are hourly workers. There was a study recently that talked about the high percentage of Michigan residents that are one $400 event away from bankruptcy. Just missing a few days of school that you're not getting paid, that could be the difference between keeping the lights on in your house, keeping the heat running on those cold winter days. It could be the difference between feeding your children or not feeding your children. That's what we're talking about here. We are talking about the livelihoods of our fellow Michiganders, our neighbors, the people that we in this chamber were duly elected to serve and represent. And yet we are casting them aside. We are casting them into the cold of a snowy day. We cannot afford that as a state. We cannot afford that morally as representatives. I urge an absolute no vote on this bill because we have gone back on a deal that was negotiated in this chamber to make this bill good and common sense legislation for all Michiganders, not just for some. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.